I've come to this cave because I'm about to drop some guru level wisdom on you. Well, not really guru level wisdom. What I'm about to drop is the kind of top 10 things I've learned about being a content creator in the past 6 months. And I've been full-time for 6 months now. I've had successes, I've had failures, I've had high points, I've had low points, I've had everything in between. But I feel like now is a good time to reflect on the things that I've figured out, and maybe they can help you too. The first thing, this is incredibly difficult. I know from the outside it looks simple because it's largely people with their phone making quite raw videos that have the potential to reach millions, if not tens of millions of people. And that looks easy. It's not necessarily hard from a skill point of view. Things like editing, filming, all of that stuff is learnable. There's so many resources online. But the difficulty with it is an emotional standpoint, right? You're putting yourself out to the world every single day and you're opening yourself up to just millions of people who might praise you but might criticize you. You're also creating something that is very personal, and so when that comes under attack, it feels very personal. So from an emotional standpoint, it is tough. There are intangible things you've got to learn about creating content, things like pacing, storytelling, how to get an idea across, things like, where to put hooks in videos, but all of that I think just comes with time and experience. But the emotional toll that it can take about putting yourself kind of on the line every single day is incredibly difficult. Number two, you matter, and I don't mean that on a metaphysical, inspirational level, although that's true, you do matter. What I mean is that your presence within the stuff that you're creating makes a difference, or at least it does for me. So me being a recognizable figure in my videos and having a personality and presenting that to people is important. It matters that you're in the video. I know there's a whole bunch of people out there talking about faceless YouTube accounts, faceless TikTok accounts, faceless whatever. And I'm not saying that that's not possible, but I'm saying that you suck the soul out of something when there's not someone there to present it. Why do you think TV shows have presenters and have different TV personalities putting themselves out there in front of people to deliver different concepts? It's because people buy from people. People are invested in people, not things or products or whatever. They're invested in people. I spent a long time, big part of my job before was selling, and I always knew that I could win out against other competitors based on the people that were in the room selling. It wasn't about the product, it was about who was selling it and being invested in those people. So putting yourself in front of the camera, being brave enough to put your face on camera and you'll put your personality out there, I think makes a big difference, or it certainly has done for me. Number three, equipment doesn't matter until it does. And I'll try and make this make sense. But basically, you can create amazing things just going out there with your phone. And the best equipment that you've got is the equipment that you've got in your pocket, the equipment that you've got on you. It's the camera that you already own. It's the phone that you already own. And phone cameras are powerful. They're great. There's some really great entry-level vlogging cameras that you can get for fairly cheap. But the more expansive your ideas, the more creative your ideas become, the more equipment might become a restricting factor. So just this, for example, here where we're sitting, my camera is 2 or 3 meters away from me down a hill and I'm in a cave. In order for me to be able to do this, and this is the kind of content that I wanted to do for a long time, I had to get a wireless microphone. I had to invest in that because it's so difficult to do it without it. When you don't have certain things, you're very restricted in terms of the space that you can do it. So for example, if you've got a webcam and a mic on your computer because you're a streamer, then the majority of your content is going to exist within that environment. I wanted to get out and do more interesting content out and about, not in an office environment, in a streaming environment. So I had to invest a little bit in the types of equipment that I had. So the idea is the biggest thing, but and execution and equipment doesn't always matter, but there are certain things that you're going to find very difficult to do if you don't have the right equipment. And there is something quite nice about investing in your craft and investing in the equipment. What equipment doesn't do is it doesn't make a shit idea great. The fourth thing I want to talk about is all these growth hackers, right? These tactics and tips for growth. They're almost always wrong, or they're almost always such a small part of what you need to do in order to create growth on your social media channels. These gurus out there talking about TikTok SEO and hashtags and trending sounds, I'm not saying that those things can't have an impact, but what I'm saying is they don't have the total impact on their own. What I've tried to do, and what I'm continuing to try and do, is to think strategically about what it is that I'm trying to achieve. What's my kind of vision, mission and values as a content creator, and how do I communicate that effectively to people? If I'm focused on what hashtags I'm going to use, if I'm focused on what trending sound I'm going to use, then I'm going down a road where I'm not really creating art anymore. I'm not really creating anymore. I'm creating for an algorithm, I'm not creating for people. That's what you should be doing. You should be creating for yourself, and you should be creating for people. You should not be creating for what you think an algorithm wants. Algorithms are all designed to try and deliver to people what is most relevant to them and what's going to most entertain them. And that's not always what you think it's going to be. There are hundreds and hundreds of factors that every algorithm takes into account when it's thinking about whether to push a video, whether it's planning to push a website, all of those things. And you changing one or two of those factors is really not going to have an impact. The idea matters more than anything else. If your idea and execution isn't good, and no amount of hashtags or text on screen or subtitles or blah 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 is actually going to make your video perform better than if the idea and the execution was good. Number 5, and I talked about this a little bit in my last video, there are no shortcuts, and this very much sinks into the stuff about the growth hacks and all of that kind of stuff. It's so easy to fall into those traps of going, this is a shortcut, this is a quick fix, this is a way to get ahead of other people. There are no shortcuts. You have to do the work, you have to produce prolifically at as high a quality as you can. I made the decision quite early on that I was going to post every single day and multiple times a day on TikTok. And it's not that I've always got that right, and it's not that I've always produced the best content I possibly can, and it's not that that content has always been successful, but just the act of producing every single day means that your content gets better and better. I'm starting to get stuff delivered to me on TikTok now that's like, here's what you produced a year ago. And I look at how I am on camera, I look at the setup of the shot, I look at the color grade, and I look at the sound, and I think it's all shit. Right? I think the content is shit from a year ago. And I'm sure in a year's time, I'll look back and think that this content is not great, because you get better with every video you produce. Stop focusing on how to get there quicker and just focus on producing prolifically at as high a quality as you can right now with the equipment that you have right now. Number 6, comparison is the thief of joy. And I know that's a cliche saying now, but I promise you it's true. I've compared myself to some of my best friends in the industry. I've compared myself to bigger creators. I've felt jealousy. And what I'm getting better at is changing that mode of thinking to be much more around having gratitude for what it is that I have, but also being very, very happy for other people's success. I always look at my own content and my own stuff, and I'm very critical of it. So when other people say to me, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that, which has happened to me, especially with this kind of content, they've said, I really wish I could produce the content in the way that you have. It's always surprising to me because I don't recognize that in myself. Number 7, make sure you improve something on every single thing you produce. Learn from the last thing you produced and improve something for the next time, whether that's a video, whether it's a design, whatever it is. Just improve something every time. For me, I'm always looking at how can I get new shots in there, how can I make the sound better, how can I get the environment and the feel of where I am much more at the forefront of the video. How can I get different angles? How can I tell the story better? I'm trying to think about things. Every time I edit a video, I'll think, I should have done this or I should have done that, and I try and incorporate that for the next shot. I try to go to new, more exciting locations, so it's not just my mug that you're looking at, but it's actually a nice environment to be producing something. So improve something every time you produce. Prepare for rejection. This is a big one. I've been rejected so many times throughout the process of being a content creator full time. I've been rejected by brands, been rejected by the content creators, I've been ignored. One of the things that I do, and you'll see on my YouTube channel here, is that I've got a podcast, and for a long time I just could not get a response from any creators whatsoever. I was really pushing myself out there, big creators, small creators, medium-sized creators, people around the size as me, and I just could not get responses. And it was one thing that tipped that podcast over in terms of getting more guests, and it was an interview with a good friend of mine now called Peter Webby, who's a great content creator, and that seemed to start an avalanche of people going, oh, I'd like to go on that podcast. And what I realised from that is a lot of people felt like they weren't worthy of being on a podcast. Even though I was just, starting out and doing this thing, they didn't feel like they were worthy of it. So there is always going to be rejection, but you've got to also prepare yourself for success, or be open to that success, because you really never know when it's going to come. My idea now and my thought process now is to try and be so good and have such a solid community and have such good content that the brands are coming to me rather than me going to them. It's not to say that I'm not still going to reach out to brands and do that kind of stuff, but what I'm trying to do is focus on the art, focus on the craft, rather than focusing on, I need to get this brand deal or that brand deal. Number 9, and this one's important, expect the unexpected. Because I've spoken to a lot of creators for the podcast and just in my day-to-day life as a content creator, and they've all had a very similar experience. Prepare for the unexpected, expect the unexpected. Sometimes you will spend days and days working on a piece of content, and you'll put it out there and you'll feel in your heart that it is the best piece of content that you've ever produced, and it won't get seen by many people, relatively. You might get a couple of hundred people see it on TikTok, and relatively speaking, that feels quite low. But every now and then, something will happen and something will tip, and you will reach huge amounts of people. My most successful piece of content to date on TikTok is a less than a minute video. It took me less than 5 minutes to produce. The camera quality is terrible, the sound quality is terrible, it's got a terrible joke in it, and it reached almost 3 million people. I think it was well over 2.5 million people. Some of the content that I've spent the most time has reached relatively small amounts of people. Be open to putting content out there, even if you don't think it's good enough, because sometimes it's the stuff that you least expect that's going to have the most impact. I nearly didn't put that video out that got that many views. I nearly didn't put it out, and I nearly just was like, oh, this has been done, it's an old thing, blah, 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 whatever. I had all these excuses, and in the end I just recorded it. It was the end of the day, I recorded and put it out there, and it did incredibly well. So be raw, be willing to pivot, and be willing to put stuff out there that is good, that doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect is the enemy of done, right? Be willing to put stuff out there that you're not 100% happy with, and then have the stuff that you really want to work on and push out there, and you're doing it for the art and the craft. But just be willing to be raw, because that's what social video is all about. Raw, reactive, and the idea beats everything. The idea beats the equipment, the idea beats the sound quality, it beats all of those things. If the idea is good and it resonates with people at a specific time, then it's gonna do well. So focus on that and be willing to put stuff out on a dime. Number 10, patience is mandatory. There's no way to get around this. There are some people who it feels like they're just overnight successes, and I would think in almost all of those cases, if you look behind the scenes, they've been doing lots of different things over their life that has led to the point where they're able to be successful on social media very quickly, or actually that they've been running their account for a long time and they just pivoted to start doing something else, or they just hit on an idea. There's lots and lots of things. I used to see this when I did comedy years ago. There's this illusion that when people come on TV that they've come out of nowhere, but really they've been working comedy circuits for the past 10 years for like no money, doing 5-minute gigs here, there and everywhere. So there is often a lot of hard work behind the scenes that you haven't seen, and the success that you're seeing now is as a result of many, many things. You have to be patient. If you're getting into this thinking, what's this going to look like over a month or 6 months or even a year, then you're in the wrong game. You need to be willing to you need to be thinking in decades, not months and years. You've got to really love this, because it's not easy. It is draining emotionally, and it requires a lot of you to make it successful. I'm 6 months in full time, and I'm not where I want to be. I'm still pushing forward. But one thing that I've learned to do is take a step back and look where I've come from. Like I said, look what my content looked like a year ago, look what my videos looked like a year ago, look what the sound quality, the video quality, the idea quality, look at all those things and see what it looked like a year ago. Have you improved? Are you improving every single day? With every video, with everything you do, try to improve something every single day, and take the time to look back to see where you've come from, because that's massively important. You are doing better work than you realise, and you are getting better if you're doing the work, but you have to be patient. If you're patient and you keep pushing through, your time will come. And I know this sounds like I'm talking to you, I'm really just talking to myself here. So those are the 10 things that I've learned over the past 6 months as a full-time content creator, and hopefully some of them resonate with you, and hopefully some of them help you. I love doing what I do. I love coming out here with a camera and sitting in a cave and dispensing my wisdom. I love making videos. I love thinking of new ways to communicate an idea. I love thinking of new ways to entertain people and make people laugh and make people smile and maybe even sometimes make people cry. Listen, I appreciate you guys watching, whoever you are, wherever you are. And if you've got something from this, please do hit that subscribe button, because I'd love to have you as part of the community. And if you've got any questions, leave them as a comment, because I'll reply to all of you. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.